What's up? Brandon Lilly here, Team Juggernaut. Going to be working with Lauren on a conventional deadlift. Actually, we're just going to be doing a breakdown on what it means to be a conventional deadlifter and how to set it up, and basically just a one-on-one process of what to do. So go ahead, she's going to show you how to line up. Deadlift bars, go ahead and stand all the way. Deadlift bars are slick in the middle because originally there was only one way to pull them, that was conventional. This is called a conventional stance. They're slick in the middle so you can ride up your legs without cutting them up too badly. You do want to have some drag on your legs, so it's important to keep the bar close to you. She's going to take a toe straight forward, maybe slightly out stance, feet basically shoulder width apart. She's going to have the bar near her legs or on her legs that she likes right here. I typically line up just slightly off away from my legs. And what you want to do is when she goes down, she's going to grab the bar in a comfortable position, usually just outside the legs. She's going to keep her back in a position where it's almost flat. And then as she goes down, she's going to load her hamstrings. She's going to bend down, stop right there. You can see her back's in a very flat position right here. Pelvis is straight, bottom's back, hamstrings are loaded. She's going to drop just a little bit more, pick her head up, accelerate the bar off the floor. Good. Now, the mechanics of what you just did, go ahead and just pull the bar to your knees. Hold it right there. The mechanics of what she's doing right here, this is going to be a hamstring and lower back movement to right here, and then go ahead and accelerate to the top. All the way through the top there, you're going to try to be squeezing the glutes, the hamstrings, and the lower back to finish your lockout. But to get the bar off the floor, you have to have an extremely strong lower back and hamstrings. Go ahead and set it down. Now, there are some other things, like I said, depending on how you're built. She's a very normally built female, so she's going to have narrower shoulders. For a guy like me who's broad, kind of barrel chested, one of the things you can do as you line up is you may want to take a wider hand grip. Did you pull the double overhand?
Yeah, I did.
She took a double overhand grip, which is really common, but it's also very difficult as the weights get more and more progressive. So we call it over-under. And I usually go a little bit wider because if I'm narrower, what that does is it pinches me in and it makes it harder for me to pull my chest through at lockout. So by widening my hands as I pull up, I'm able to pull through like this. So those are things that you have to look at based on how you're built. But again, for her, which I'm really impressed that she is using a double overhand, that's a very good way to train beginners because with the over-under grip, there can be some tendency to windmill and things like that. But with a double overhand, basically, the technique is going to remain sound all the way through the top to bottom. So go ahead and line up again. We'll look at a couple other things. There's a lot of debate on should your back be rounded, should your back be straight. I tend to defer to the individual. You know, we start with the individual and work backwards. Konstantinov's has a very, very rounded back position, and he pulls 939 with no belt, so it obviously works for him. Other people pull with a very straight back. Andy Bolton is a straight back puller. He pulled 1,008. So you're going to have to use the individual, look at their mechanics, look at the way they're built, and go from there. Go ahead and grab the bar again. All right, one thing you'll notice, like I said, her feet are straight ahead. If you find somebody who's having trouble locking out right here, you want to get more glute activation, just have them turn their toes out just a little bit. Because automatically that pulls the hips in line, allows you to squeeze your glutes a little bit harder than if they're straight ahead. And from the beginning of the lift, you want to be flexing your glutes all the way to the top. Things you can do if you're weak off the bottom, I really believe that the most important part of the lift is from the floor. If you're weak off the bottom, what you can do, go ahead and stand up, is take a plate or a bumper and have the lifter do their pull standing on a bumper. What that will do is increase the range of motion, increase the time under tension, but it won't change their form that much. It'll allow them to maintain the same amount of form, but actually have to pull further will increase their speed off the floor. Go ahead. Good. And what you will notice, this is something that I've used on people that don't get enough hamstring recruitment or they don't get their hips set low enough. by pulling from a deficit, go ahead and get from the side here, you'll see that she actually sinks her tail just a little bit lower than normal. She's almost at 90 degrees. So this is an excellent way to teach somebody how the deadlift should feel. So by ingraining that feeling, when she goes back to pulling from the floor, she'll actually sink her hips lower by default. Another way to increase lockout power is to elevate the plates, having it varying heights, 2 inches off the floor, 4 inches off the floor, 6 inches off the floor. Have them do reps, learning to lock out more powerfully.
Head position.
Go ahead, line up.
On the plate?
Yeah. Another point of debate is head position. There is a good amount of information backed up to say that your head back is a good way to lock out. There's another set of information that says head down is the best way to lock out. Go ahead and lock out with your head looking straight up. All right, look straight up. Okay. What this does is actually will increase her range of motion. See how she's beyond parallel? I don't like a head back position to lock out. I like to pull as hard as I can and then drop my head. That's the way I prefer to do it. But with a head back position, we can see your lockout point is at mid-thigh. Now go ahead and drop your head forward and drop your shoulders forward. She shortened her lockout by an inch just by doing this. This is a preferred way that I found for a competition lifter to pull. Pull as hard as you can, but lock yourself out and drop your shoulders as low as you can, and that'll actually shorten your lockout distance. So play with that. Again, there's going to be a benefit to both, because by having your head back, it actually does increase lat recruitment. So I tell people if they have a struggle right here, head back, and then finish down. There can be a balance. Typically, the way that I found the most beneficial to do speed work, a lot of people use bands, and that's all fine and well, but the way that I prefer to do speed work is to actually increase the amount of weight from the floor, because I feel that that's where you need the most speed from. So typically, let's say you're using 50% bar weight, 25% band weight, that's 75 at the top, 50 at the bottom. What I will do is subtract 10% from the top amount, which will be 65, and I'll use 65% all the way through. Now, the best way to do this in rapid succession to get muscularity, improvement, and build speed, she would pull a set. Go ahead. As soon as she drops it, she would back off the bar. I would step up, I would pull it, and she would come right back up and pull it. Basically, 2 people can do 8 sets to 12 sets in under 45 seconds. What that does is it increases muscular fatigue, but it also increases muscular power, because you're going to have less rest period, more weight in your hands compared to traditional speed training, and also you're going to build more power just by logging out the weight in a fatigue fashion. And then, what else did you say? Grip. Grip work, one of the things that I like to do with people is to make sure, like in a competition, you have to hold a lockout. So as they're working up, I always have people hold their lockout for a 2 to 3 count. It's a simple way to work your grip. Another thing to do is barbell rows. That's really good for your forearms. And then grippers. I'm not huge on the grippers, but they can be beneficial. And the other thing that Chuck Vogelpohl had us do a lot at Lexington was static holds on ropes and chains. That was really good for our grip. And lastly, you know, it's going to just take time over the bar. You're going to have to spend a lot of time. You know, I'm 12 years in as a competitive lifter, and I think just now I found the stance, the hand placement, the head placement that work for me. So don't ever feel like you're completely on point. Always search for new ways to try things. Search for ways to keep improving. And if you do those things, you try a few of the tips that I talked about, you'll be a lot better deadlifter for it. Thank you.